This Week in Richmond is made possible in part by Alpha Natural Resources, an energy company dedicated to respecting the land. Alpha Natural Resources, we power the world through the energy of our people. Everywhere there are lighting poles, there's one more opportunity to save money. Intelligent Illuminations provides cost-effective wireless lighting solutions for roadway or area outdoor lights. Kanawha Valley Arena, Virginia's cowboy town, hosts Civil War reenactments, ATV rodeos, mud bogs, diesel truck pulls, and high school rodeo finals. The Virginia Chamber of Commerce, the voice of the Virginia business community, working in legislative, regulatory, and political arenas to promote the free enterprise system. Additional support is provided by these sponsors. And by the members of Virginia's public television stations. Thank you.
Welcome to This Week in Richmond. We have a delightful group today. We were just commenting that we should have been taping the last 5 minutes, but we're certainly delighted to have you here. I'll start with the most senior member since the early 1990s, Delegate Riley Ingram. Riley,
yes,
thanks for being here.
Old. I've been here a long time.
And Rosalyn, you came in 2005.
Yes.
Rosalyn Dance, and Betsy Carr, 2010. All three of you from the capital region, Hopewell, Petersburg, Richmond. So you're from this portion of the Commonwealth, and we have some time between now and the reconvene day to get your expertise for our viewers on some issues. Delegate Dance, you said you had a triad of issues that you were going to roll out, and then we'd move down the row and talk about them.
I say they're a triad because they are like the hot button issues that we all had to address this session in one way or the other. Very hard decisions, but it was transportation. It was the budget, and in the middle of that budget was Medicaid expansion. Those are three issues that we got a lot of calls from, concerns from. People wanted to know how did we stand, and it was tough decisions, but we all, at the end of the day, we voted, and it's not over until April 3rd when we come back for the veto session, but we put those babies to bed, yes. Hopefully.
Yeah. Betsy, pick up on that, and then Riley.
Yes, Rosalyn is exactly right on those issues. So we have the big issues that we have every time. This particular time we had those three important issues, and I think we all had, we voted and we weighed our votes, and some of us did it in different ways to respect the leanings and what we'd heard from our constituents. Then also I'd like to say that, you know, we're here for the big issues, and we're also here for the small issues that become big issues for our constituents. We've done work for constituents in a number of areas, and I always appreciate the work working with my colleagues on those, like with Delegate Ingram really helped in getting some constituent issues through, and also Delegate Dance.
Riley?
We had some tough votes this year. Just
you did.
Like they said, the transportation issue was a very big controversial issue because the survey that I had, most people, 61% or so of the people in my district were saying to increase the gasoline tax. And of course, the governor's first proposal was to eliminate it altogether, and also was to increase the sales tax to 5.8%. But the news media a lot of times say that it's a big tax increase. It is not a huge tax increase. The average person is not going to see a big difference. As I told someone the other day that if you buy a coat and you pay $100 for it, you pay $5 now, you're going to pay $5.30 tax. So it's going to be 30 cents. What we did was we put the money at the wholesale level, basically, and then we lowered the tax. Actually, at the pump, you're going to see about probably 6 or 7 cent drop, but we probably will not see that because gasoline is a commodity just like corn, wheat, soybeans, and it fluctuates with the market. But it was tough. But hey, it's something we've been kicking the can down the road for a long time. And David, we've been, my colleagues here tell you the same thing. We have been borrowing money for maintenance on highways through bonding. And it's time that we had to do something. We've been trying to do something now for the last 6 or 8 years, and we finally did something.
Yeah, I agree with Delegate Ingram. The fact that transportation has been sitting there, and for a lot of us, we would say south of Fredericksburg, because that's like a key, because the I-95 prohibition, that floor amendment that became a part of the final conference bill on transportation that I introduced and was strongly supported by my colleague from Sussex, Delegate Rosalyn Tyler. We're the two Rosalyns, and that was our fight for the prohibition of I-95, tolls on I-95. That's a part that our area was concerned about, because when you look at transportation, we see Northern Virginia and we see the Hampton Roads corridor. They get a lot of concerns because that's where the traffic jams are. And that the economic interest for us is that they are revenue generators, so we want them to be able to be as marketable as they can and do as much to send some of that money down the other end as they do, to help us with education mainly as one of the main sources that they help sweeten the pot for us. But looking at that, it's like, what do we do for all of Virginia? And road maintenance is an area that's very important to us, as Delegate Ingram is saying. And so that's something that's there. It's something for everybody. It allows Northern Virginia and Hampton Roads to do what they need to do in their area, like by, you know, stopping that toll south of Fredericksburg. That says toll whatever you need to do, whatever your constituency base wants to have happen to help them get that transportation. Let's do this, but let's make sure that it's comprehensive and there's something there for everybody. Is it perfect? I would say not. But is it the best train that we could get to move at this time, to move us off the dime and start doing something after 27 years? Yes. And I feel comfortable that the governor might do a little tweaking. But with all that it took to get us to that position, I don't think he's going to be making any drastic changes in transportation as it was sent to him for his final review when we come back on April 3rd.
I would say that I was very pleased, and my constituents were happy that we were focusing on the issue of transportation. Like my colleagues are saying, we've been doing something, finally something's been done. I myself, to reflect my constituents and what I'd heard from them, did not vote for the transportation because of the concerns about education and the money that's being taken from education, and also just removing the tax from the user. Also heard from a number of folks who were concerned about the payment for the hybrid vehicles. Now that may change, that may be one of the things that's tweaked, but that was heard from a a number of constituents, because you know, that's kind of putting our emphasis on the wrong place. If these people are saving, and this down the road, some of the things that we perhaps that were in this bill are going to set up behaviors that perhaps down the road it's going to be difficult for us to solve our problems.
She's right. In a lot of things, I have heard from people about the hybrid vehicles, and $100 a year. The governor, I don't know, but the governor may change that to $50 or something.
Actually,
yeah.
It is $50. It's according to it's semantics. Right now, there is already a $50 fee, and what this bill did was increase it by $50. So it's actually $100, but it was $50. Some
Okay.
says I haven't paid that, and so I said, well, maybe you already owe us some money, but it should have been $50 already. So if you already had 50 and you add 50, that takes you to 100. So technically it is 100, but they need to know that there's already been a requirement for the $50. I don't know if they paid it or not, because
Interesting.
yes.
That is interesting.
Well,
Yeah.
they say you learn
That's a
something new
little
every day.
caveat that's in that transportation piece.
I did not know that, David, but that is a good point that is brought out. But they use the highways also, and if they are using vehicles that are electric powered, then they're not buying gasoline and they're not paying a lot of the tax. But
Right.
but that I have heard from that.
Yeah.
a
Another
lot.
thing is that
Yeah.
the tax, like what I heard from a lot of constituents, the tax is being put on the people who can least afford it and not having, not using the roads that much. So it's just, again, looking at that, where does the tax on the use go?
Okay, one of the things is, again, is ultimately the monies that comes into the coffers takes care of everything, okay? And all of us was concerned about the education piece. And what it is there is a minimal pull from education. But ultimately, if we improve the economy overall, because by having transportation, that was one of the things that was getting ready to change our bond rating, because we were concerned about us being such a congested state, if you will. And those who monitor that are pleased with where we are right now. But we're looking at more money that comes in, more revenue that comes in. Ultimately, it's going to have a positive impact on education, and for me, healthcare and public safety as well. That all those factors that are our core services are impacted by the amount of money that we have. Certain on appropriations, on the budget committee, there are much requirements, there are many requests, but there's limited dollars that we have. People will say 89 billion is a lot of money, but there is only certain amounts of that money that can be used. Certain, we call it earmark. You can only use it for certain things. But then there's all those other factors that we have to take into consideration. And so the more we have to work with, the better job we can do. And that was one of the things that we said. It was not an easy decision. It's not a perfect arrangement, but it starts the process. And it says we don't have to come back every year and readdress the same things over and over again, because there are triggers that say when the price will go up or when it will go down. And the fact that the most caveat that I had to look at was sales tax as it sits right now is based on existing cars and how we do business. But the market is now making a more gas efficient car, more energy efficient car, moving away from one single source to make this happen. And as we move, even the cars that are still using gas, they are making them more better. They can go more distance with less gas. They're spending less money. That's less taxes coming in. So we have to look at a sustainable revenue that's going to look at the now and take us into further into the 21st century, if you will. And so all those factors were there that led us to the hard, very, very hard decision of voting yes or no for the transportation packet.
And Kurt Cox, for example, Kurt is the majority leader in the House, and every year the governor and Kurt and the chairman of the Appropriations Committee and the chairman of the Finance Committee, they go to New York for our Moody's evaluation and all for our AAA bond rating. And one of the main things that they talk about is at the AAA bond rating is what are you doing about transportation?
Exactly.
And now, that is a big plus for us to save that AAA bond rating. And I'm glad that Rosalyn mentioned that, because that is a big, big factor in keeping our AAA bond rating was transportation. And that's what I'm so proud of. All three of us here are proud of the fact that we're not like Washington. We're not out here spending $1 and borrowing 40-some cents or so from China. We're not borrowing money anymore. We have a balanced budget, and we have an excellent group in both Democrat and Republican in the Senate and the House that work together. And this is a prime example of all of us can disagree on different things. And there are plenty of things in that budget that I don't like, but it's a whole thing. Part of the government process is compromise, and you don't get everything you want. And the other person doesn't get everything they want. Right. If they walk away from the table halfway upset, that's a good compromise. And that's just the way it is. But I'm very proud of my colleagues and everyone in the House. And I think we did a very good job of tackling some of the tough issues.
And they were bipartisan.
Yes.
They wouldn't have passed if it weren't for the bipartisan support.
So what if we go to one of the other issues in that triad that Delegate Dance laid out for us and explain to the viewers where you stand right now, again, waiting for what any action the governor may take on the Medicaid expansion.
Medicaid expansion is one of those babies that that's health related, but it's in the budget. And I think the main concern we had is, and I guess the positive side of it is that both the House and the Senate's version had something to address Medicaid. It didn't just remove itself from it, it addressed it. But it's a point of the speed, if you will, of addressing it. The House, let's say the Senate's version, would have started the process 2014, which says that still not starting right out of the gate, if you will, July 1 of this year. That would have been like a $900 million loss as far as possibilities of generated funds coming to Virginia. With the House's version, starting with the kickoff point being 2015, then it says the big difference is $3.3 billion as estimated by the people that were giving us the information in those hospital alliances or whatever that looked at the information. What we ended up in the conferencing bill, because the caveat came from the governor, because it's got to be signed, and he said he's not signing anything that didn't address reform. So in the compromise version, there is reform. And there's a little bit of moving to the middle, if you will, as far as the final decision that has gone to him, hopefully that he'll tweak and not stop the balance of all of our triad of things that we've got going on. Because it says reform must happen, but it says the bureaucracy of the staff who know that they got to deal with us legislators, they've been working all along, okay? They haven't been just waiting for us to say now go. They have strategically begun the work, and we're wise enough to know that they are closest to the pulse of it. So we're looking at that. The General Assembly has appointed a commission, and this commission will be reviewing that information, and then they will be like the catalyst to tell us, okay, reform is there. We have the ball, you know, the bells and whistles. It's time to now move off the dime. And based on that, it's sort of like a phased-in process that says that by 2014, July 2014, we will be moving, which is more alignment to what the Senate was doing than with the House. But the caveat is that I think the House had a more exacting, specific way, and that's more of what you find in this compromise, because that's what it is. It's a compromise between what the House had and what the Senate has. But it has a reform, and it's the point of when do we start this process, and then we get the approval from the federal government to do it the way we think is best for Virginia.
And David, the way this is structured, just like Rosalyn was just saying, it'll be 5 members, I think, from the House, 5 members from the Senate.
Yes.
Now, each one of those, 3 of them must agree on each one of these. In other words, there would be 3 from the House, 3 from the Senate must agree for it to go forward. The biggest thing that the people are concerned about the Medicaid expansion is safeguards. They want to make sure that the government, federal government, can take care of their part and it doesn't bankrupt the state because of the money that it's going to cost the state to do it. And that's the biggest part that we're really concerned about, and because it's going to be helpful to a lot of people. There's no question about it, and it's going to be the law of the land. I mean, it's already signed 2014, I think.
Affordable health care.
Yeah, and under the Affordable Health Care Act, and so it's coming. It's just that we have got to see what we can do to safeguard, put safeguards in it for ourselves, and we have safeguarded. Rosalyn, what did we do? Any insurance company that comes into Virginia to do business in Virginia must adhere to the State Bureau of Insurance.
Exactly.
So that's another safeguard that we put in there too.
That's a big point. I would think the simplest way to describe it when we talk about reform, as we all agree that it should happen, for example, if Riley wears a size 12 and I wear a size 6, sounds good, then currently with the Medicaid plan where it is, you know, if I qualify, I can get a 12 even if I don't need it. The 12 might provide me with some caviar, whatever, but I can get all this because instead of getting the size 6 that fit me, and I think that's one of the efficiencies we're looking at is, because that is one of the most expensive things we have. Let's look at it when we reform it. Let's make sure it provides a quality care that is needed, but let's not be extravagant as far as those extra pieces that are not needed, but you just pick them up because you can't have them, okay? So we want to have quality services that are been addressed, and as we go forward, even those that are actually in the service now, let's look at, are they wearing size 12 when they need a 6 or a 10? It should fit the individual. We have, like in health, in education, we say individualized education plans. Then we want to have individualized healthcare plans that meet the needs of the person.
I think that the committee that Riley was talking about, I think the people that are participating have experience in this, so they're not coming, you know, green off of anything, they will have the benefit of their experience.
Exactly.
And I also think that this whole movement is, you know, what we should be doing with the reforms and so forth. It is both it's a moral imperative and also an economic one, because otherwise we'd be leaving all of this federal money on the table, which we could use to help our citizens.
Exactly.
And we look what we did for the state employees. They have not had an increase in pay in 6 years. They've had like a bonus or something at the end of the year, but they have not had an increase in pay. And for the so many of the people that were being hired in at more money than what was being paid to someone who had been there for 6 or 7 years. And so we were able to do that by increasing their pay, but also if they were 5 years or more in service, they would get $65 for every year that they were with the state. So if they had 10 years with the state, they'd get $65 increase over that time. Now, state troopers, state police officers, what a shame that officer just got killed in Dinwiddie. That was, I knew the man. He was a wonderful person. But anyway, state police are getting the $70 for every year that they've served with the state police. In addition to that, a 2% increase on top of that. So they're getting a decent increase in pay for a change. We did put money in there for the school teachers, an increase in pay.
We're in the
also.
budget now. We're into the budget. See, we segued into
right,
the budget.
that's right,
So we stand with our triad, and that's exactly where we are. But that was, and it's significant about the teachers at 2%, you know, and it's tied to incentives. They can make that choice. But we listened to them because they said it's not just the teachers in the classroom, it's the support staff as well. And that was one that was not there, that we had to make some adjustments to make sure that we took care of the support staff as well, because they're seen as just as important for providing that quality education. Yes.
Well, I don't know how it was for you during the session, but I need to tell you a number if you haven't heard it, and tell our viewers as well. Coming through the security checks into this General Assembly building during this session were 36,504 people.
I did not know
Now,
that.
someone maybe came through there twice. That doesn't include the people who had badges and who didn't go through security.
Yeah, because we walked
Yeah,
on through,
it's all-
right.
The staff.
They came through the security.
36,504.
That's
The
something.
Capitol Police are counting that now, and that in the short session, that many people. There's a day called Lobby Day, Martin Luther King Day, and on that day there were a little over 2,000.
Wow.
Wow.
But on the day when uranium mining and fox pinning were being heard in the Senate, that day exceeded all other days.
Oh my goodness.
That was the largest crowd. So if you felt a little bit extra tired at the end of the session with all these people seeing you,
Oh, yeah.
there seemed to be
So now
more
we know.
than
That's one of the privileges and gifts I think we have as legislators, to be able to see people. And I always appreciate whenever constituents or non-constituents or people that are interested in, you know, that shows their participation in our democracy and in our lawmaking. And so I always really appreciate whenever we have visitors or callers.
I think we all agree. This was a tough session. It was a tough session for a short session especially, but it's probably the toughest session I've had since I've been here, and I've been here for 22 sessions. That's a long time.
You know, Legislative Services told me, I think one year, that, you know, you think you have less bills on a short session, but they said, you know, you have a limit of 15. So on a short year, people, got to get in all my 15. Whereas the year that they have unlimited, they don't push to get that 15.
interesting.
Yeah,
But
it's
it's not that much difference at all. Not that much difference at all.
And we have a lot of them retiring this year, which I was really surprised. Don Merrick's, he's retiring, and he's only been here, what, 4 years?
Yeah, Chris.
Or
Then we
6,
have,
you know?
Sal.
John Cox and Sal Quinto.
Sal.
Yes, and we're and of course Joe Johnson.
Jim Scott.
Joe's just a real gentleman. Joe is a wonderful person. I hate to see him get out, but and Bob had already decided 2 years ago that he was definitely going to go.
Bob Tater.
Bob Tater, yeah.
So there's as we have the conversation today, 6 of your colleagues have announced that they're not running again.
Yeah, I came
think
in.
you just named them
right
all.
in 2005. I was number 100. Here we are, 2013, and I'm 41 as far as seniority. 100 being least senior, and in just that period of time, I've moved to 41. What is your position?
I'm number 9.
right.
And if no one else gets out from the 2, I'll go down to number 7. If I'm reelected, you never know. You know?
Right. Yes.
You never know.
Well, very much appreciate the 3 of you. That's a great conversation. The part that we didn't tape and all the part that we did for the viewers too. Appreciate Delegate Dance, Delegate Carr, Delegate Ingram, and we look forward to finding out from you all and your colleagues what happens on April 3rd. That's the day, viewers, that others will be coming to the Capitol to see what happens on that day.
Thank you for what you do, David.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
This Week in Richmond is made possible in part by Alpha Natural Resources, an energy company dedicated to respecting the land. Alpha Natural Resources, we power the world through the energy of our people. Everywhere there are lighting poles, there's one more opportunity to save money. Intelligent Illuminations provides cost-effective wireless lighting solutions for roadway or area outdoor lights. Kanawha Valley Arena, Virginia's cowboy town, hosts Civil War reenactments, ATV rodeos, mud bogs, diesel truck pulls, and high school rodeo finals. The Virginia Chamber of Commerce, the voice of the Virginia business community, working in legislative, regulatory, and political arenas to promote the free enterprise system. Additional support is provided by these sponsors. And by the members of Virginia's public television stations. Thank you.